One of the common questions that we are getting in our firm right now is in relation to the employee retention credit. One thing to note that is really important if you're looking for additional cash for your business is that prior to the legislation that passed on December 27th, if you received PPP funding, you were essentially not eligible for these employer retention credits. But the legislation passed on December 27th actually clarified that if, as long as you're not utilizing the PPP funds for those particular periods that you're claiming that employee retention credit, that you are eligible if you meet the other specifications. So definitely an opportunity to look at as well in determining whether you qualify for additional funds from the IRS. So. One thing to be aware of is a lot of times people think that an extension to file is also an extension to pay, but that is actually not the case. If you are not able to file on your deadline date and you are filing an extension, you still want to make sure that you send in an estimated amount due at that time as to avoid any type of late payment penalties. Just because a federal extension was given, for example, for the Oklahoma residents for the severe winter storm that happened, just because that was provided by the IRS does not necessarily mean that your state entities are going to conform to what the IRS is doing. So this is kind of similar to with the PPP. The IRS came out and said formally that it's not taxable to the business owner that receives it, right? That's not necessarily the case for each individual state. So you definitely need to look at, with extensions, any type of adjustments that are done on the federal level, you need to confirm on the state side, are they conforming with the IRS or do they have other rules and regulations that they follow? So for businesses, as they're kind of deducting meals and entertainment expenses, obviously entertainment, the rules change substantially with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act where that's not allowed. But with meals in particular, not for 2020, but for 2021, the IRS has made specific rules that if you as a business spend money at a restaurant in particular, that funding is not, or that expense is not going to be limited to the 50% deduction. It's actually going to be 100% deductible. So something to keep in mind as you're buying lunch, for employees, or you're on a business meeting, you're going to be able to take 100% of that if it's specifically from a restaurant. One question we've been getting a lot is, what is the status of my filing for 2019 and what should my expectations be about my 2020 refund? I will say that the IRS has self-admittedly become behind on filings, especially if you paper filed. So electronic filing is always the quickest way to get a return processed and receive a refund. But keep in mind that if you do a paper filing and you choose that method of filing your tax return, they are extremely behind right now in processing those returns. So we had several clients receive notices that, hey, this payment's due with your tax return, but it was really just kind of the IRS having not updated their account yet with the actual payment that was submitted with the return. So if you do receive an IRS notice, get with your tax professional, make sure that you communicate with the IRS as needed, but also know that there are a lot of notices going out right now that may not necessarily be accurate.